I'm really glad you could join me. Welcome back. In addition to a lot of botanicals that I make, flowers and herbs that I use, sometimes I, like so many others, want something beautiful. And I believe that these things are not necessarily mutually exclusive. Calendula. I just love calendula. And do you know that it is beneficial to us? I use it in salves, lotions, creams. It is fantastic. It has fantastic antibacterial properties. The same can be said for several of these. But you know what else is wonderful about calendula? It is one of the few flowers that doesn't turn brown in soap. It stays yellow. And for that alone, that makes it really beneficial. Oop. These are just dried hibiscus flowers that have been ground up. They smell divine. They also will add a brownish red, kind of a maroon color to a soap if you infuse them in oil. But I think the fragrance alone gives them a wonderful benefit. But also, hibiscus has some antimicrobial properties to it as well. Elder. These are elder flowers. I sell elderberry tincture, and I can tell you that the flowers, when dried and crushed, are like heaven. They smell wonderful. Used in creams and salves, various different potions, they offer some wonderful benefits, but that's only part of the reason why I add them. They're magical, at least historically. Elderberries were the favorites of certain mythical creatures, and in some ways, sometimes, I feel like a mythical creature myself, so hey, I'm going for elderflowers. Jasmine flowers. What can be said about jasmine that hasn't already been said before? They are regal. They smell divine, an overused term for me, but they have a green, floral, fruity smell that I think is just fantastic. Now you may say, well, aren't all these fragrances going to get lost in the soap? Most of it, yes, but they leave behind just enough, and that's why I'm using the blend that I'm using, because together they do leave behind a very nice, gardeny, green, floral fragrance. It's very light, but it's there. And finally, chamomile. Beautiful, lovely chamomile. It is so relaxing. It has such wonderful benefit. I love it in tea. There's nothing I like better than a cup of Yopan and chamomile tea made from my own plants, and nothing can be better than that. But all of this aside, don't they look great? These will be, I'm going to infuse these in oil, but also we're going to top the soap with much of this. And will they turn brown? Some things will, some things won't. Won't turn brown. Will just stay looking like chamomile, which is already kind of brown. Will darken. Will stay white and pout, just as you see it here. The part that's embedded in the soap will turn darker, and this retains its color. It may bleed a little bit of red into the soap, but that's okay, because what I'm going to do on the top is I'm going to create rows, like garden rows, and have these in rows along the top with the different constituents here. Doesn't that sound like fun? I'm not using rose because I just made a rose soap, and I wanted to keep this a little more middle of the road. This is not too overpowering, and I don't know, I think they're just right. So the first step is these are going to get infused. So let me bring everything over here and let's get started with the infusion. Oh, here, let's do. It smells like a wonderful potpourri. It does. I suppose it is, isn't it? That smells terrific. All right, so now I'm going to get some oil. So you've seen me make infusions and for salves and for other things before, so I know this probably isn't very exciting. All right, goat milk. Isn't it wonderful? I'm sure that the first person, well, I've got some theories. First of all, let me start with one of my theories about soap making, about the early days, because there's really nothing we know that about when soap making became a thing, but how was it discovered? How did someone figure out that soap could be created by mixing sodium hydroxide, or ash as it were at that time, which is where sodium hydroxide came out with before laboratories started making it. But how did that first person figure it out? Well, in case you don't know, soap is comprised of a couple of different ingredients. So you have your oil, which can be animal fat, can be vegetable oils, can be nut oil, all sorts of wonderful different things can be the fat. And then you need something to emulsify the sodium hydroxide into those oils, thus saponifying those oils and turning them into soap and rendering the lye inert. So in this case I use goat milk as a replacement for the liquid. There's the lye, which is what will turn the oils, which I use the coconut oil, the cocoa butter, olive oil, those different oils and butters as the oils in the product. But I like to think of how it probably first started was rather simple and probably took place over a long period of time. So imagine you're a post-caveman, meaning after the caveman days, after we have graduated from Neanderthal to the Homo sapiens, which we all are a part of, hopefully, although some politicians make you wonder, don't they? But in those early days, they cooked outdoors on fires, as many of us still do today, right? And so let's say they had their dirty bowl or pan that had animal fat in it, and it spilled into the fire. And they had a big flare-up. And so to deal with that, they didn't know that you couldn't throw water on oil fires at that time, maybe. And someone threw some water on it, then stomped it out or whatever, and decided to, it's the next day, they decided to leave, okay? Well, they come back the next day, or the next month, to the same spot, and they see a white blob on the ground that looks kind of hard. And they smell it, and it smells like the ground, the earth, where it was made, right? It's got ash on it, and it's got leaves in it, and all sorts of other things. Well, they scoop that aside and build a new fire, and darn it, it starts to rain. So they hurry up, they get their food in under a tent or in a cave or some other shelter that they have. But one of them notice that as the rain falls on that white blob that they brushed aside, that there are bubbles coming up from it. Thus was born the first bar of soap. That's my theory on how this sort of thing could have happened. Now, where do I base this on? My grandmother told stories about where she lived. This is my adopted grandmother, and she was from Oklahoma. Very out in the country. Hang on, I just need to get a paper towel here. I made a little spill. I usually use my cloth towels for this, but they're in the laundry right now. I've got a few, but I'm saving those for the big spills. Anyway, I'm sorry. But my grandmother told a story of when she was in the woods after a forest fire, and near a little animal, the animals that had died in the fire, this was a month or so later, or I don't know how long later, but after a rain, they would find these things near the carrion, the bodies of the dead animals. And they would find these blobs that resembled something along the lines of soap. And again, that's a wives' tale, perhaps. My grandmother did tell stories to back up. Sometimes I think she made up things to back up some of her theories, which is okay. I mean, she's dead now, so it doesn't matter so much. But anyway, the point is, I think that probably somewhere along those lines is how the first soap was made and discovered. And it probably took a while before someone actually picked it up and said, hey, this is good for washing my hands. In case COVID ever comes along, we've got a good cure. No, it's just something I wonder about. My brain tends to wander like that. It's my day off. This is Sunday. I'm off Sundays and Mondays now, so I'm just having a nice, relaxing day. Well, not really. I spent a lot of it out in the extreme heat. It's 100 degrees here, working with the animals, but now I'm relaxing indoors because it's the heat of the day and I just don't do that. Okay. All right. So, I had this idea to create this garden green soap using the floral, the botanicals that I have infused in the oils, and boy does that oil smell wonderful. Now, does it smell like a flower garden? Well, no, because a lot of the components of the botanicals, some of those botanicals don't survive. Some of the perfumed qualities don't survive. But there are some fruity, nutty, wonderful fragrances that still survive. And so I'm not adding any essential oils to this at all. This is only going to be naturally scented with the goat milk and the herbs that I've infused into the oils that are going to make up the soap. So it's going to be very mildly scented and gentle. And that's really what I want. Now, how am I going to color this? Well, with some spinach, some Cromwell, some turmeric, some blue clay and indigo, and some rose clay and some red clay mixed together. So I just want this to be a colorful soap, but I also want it to be natural. Oh, who am I kidding? All of the soaps I want to be natural, but this one I'm really looking forward to making. I'm not even sure why. I just got the idea in my head that I wanted to make it because it's something I like to do at least once or twice a year, to make a nice botanical soap. And I usually am not big on putting flowers on top, and for a couple of reasons. First of all, it's messy in the bath or shower. You don't want little flowers. Perhaps you don't. I don't know. Maybe you do. Little flowers in the tub. So I'm going to try to capture put a layer of the natural on the bottom. Then I'm going to alternate the colors. Oh. Overfilling things a bit, but I'm about done. So I'm actually not going to do anything else to these. I'm going to let them sit for a bit, then we're going to come back and add our herbs, or flowers, excuse me. Okay, so I'm going to use this cake scraper to just kind of create some grooves here in the top. Like so. Like a little garden rose. Do the same with this one. Now I overfilled these a little bit, so. So I'm going to start with the hibiscus. Do the same on this one. I was just blowing off some of the excess there. Okay, so let's cut these. Oh, I did want to show you folks that before we unmold it, these were a few of the overpours that I did. These were the extra that I poured. I told you I was going to pour it in some hearts, and that's what I did. I made 5 or 6. Well, I know exactly. 6 of these, I think. No, 8 of them. Yeah. Okay, anyway. So, let's see what we've got. Taking out the mold. It's going to be messy because the flowers and things, some of them will fall off. That much I do know. Got some interesting color variations there. So here we go. Let's see what we come up with. Oh, almost dropped it. Didn't the colors come out fun? I don't know, I kind of like it. It's going to be a messy one because of all these botanicals, but I just love them. I don't do this often, make these kind of soaps. For no other reason than I just don't. Some I hope you like these. I think they're just wonderful. Yeah, I think they came out great, and I like the tops. And I haven't quite got the name yet, but it's going to come to me by the time I get this, get the other loaf cut. But I won't bore you with that, but I hope you all have a fantastic day. It's always a pleasure being with you and sharing information with you and reading your comments. And no, I don't respond as often as I wish I could, and I really do wish I could. I just get so crazy busy at work. I'm so tired at the end of the day that just making the products alone kind of wear me out a bit. And that's not your fault. It's just the way things are. But I do care, and I want to just thank you all again for all of your wonderful encouragement and kind words. It means the world to me, hearing from you and just getting to know you folks. I think you're just wonderful. So you have a great day, and I'll see you back soon. Goodbye.